Hey everybody, what's going on? Luis here once again. Let's walk us through how to do the RedCap charting for our patients. First, you're going to click here, Add and Edit Records. Then you're going to click here, Add a new record. And this page is going to pop up where you're going to choose your name. I'm going to choose my name here. And the first thing it's going to ask for is the MRN of the patient. So you'll be receiving a box file with all the patients that you should label for getting for becoming an author in this paper. So you're going to receive 150 patients as of today. And you're going to come here. This is just a sample because I cannot show PHI here. You're going to take the patient's MRN, you're going to copy it, and you're going to paste it here, right? And right now, you can start charting the patient in Epic. You don't have to go back to the CSV. We're going to talk a little bit more about the CSV. And the first thing you should make sure of is that the patient's initials, for example, let's say HJK, right? I go to Epic and I see the patient's initials are HHK. Now you can go back to the CSV file and just make sure that it's the same patient. If it is not the same patient, just send me an email and I'll try to see what's going on. But this is our first data quality assurance. So just make sure the patient's initials, they are correct in the sense of the MRN that the patient was attributed to. And here, this data screen or data survey, the database that I got it from is has these two dates. And these dates, they correspond more or less to the date of hospitalization. Sometimes they're like 1 or 2 days away. Sometimes this data screen and data survey, they're a little far apart as well. But it really doesn't matter. It should be like 5 minus 5 plus days from one of these two dates. But as I said, they're mostly the date of hospitalization, and these two dates, they don't go much beyond 5 days between each other. So, for example, here, this is the 12th of December 2022. And at this point, I would open Epic and I would look for that hospitalization, that event, right? And I'll make sure it is an event that happened at University of Minnesota East Bank, and that the stroke type was an ischemic stroke, right? And all the information here should be the same information that you find on Epic, and also should be the same information you're going to put here. So for example, age of the patient during the hospitalization, let's say it was 65. The date of hospitalization we saw was 12th of December 2022. And the stroke type was ischemic stroke that led to the hospitalization, right? So once again, this is just for quality assurance, just to make sure that the database we're pulling the MRN from is the same as the MRN that you're putting in and finding the patients on Epic. If they're not, once again, just email me and I'll make sure to see what's going on, and then we can make adjustments on your specific labels. Once you do that, you're going to come here to the first ranking score that you're going to assess, which is the hospitalization modifier ranking score. And the hospitalization modifier ranking score is going to be you're going to start with the notes that are closest to discharge, right? So you're going to have a discharge summary, let's say 10 days after the date of hospitalization. And you can start with the discharge summary, and you're going to start reading it to see if you can find any information where you can assess the modifier ranking with, right? And once again, just remembering here, you are going to use the ranking focus assessment, which is a checklist. So for example, if the discharge says that the patient is bedridden, that's great. The patient is bedridden, you don't have to do anything else. You're going to choose it as a 5, right? But if the discharge doesn't tell you anything about the functional outcome of this patient, you're just going to go down the list and continue to do the checklist as we talked about last time. But let's say in this case, the discharge summary didn't have anything, so you're going to start going back in time a little bit, and you're going to go from the discharge summary to the previous notes, and then to the previous notes, and then to the previous notes, until you find evidence with which you can choose and use your modifier ranking score. So for example, let's say the discharge summary doesn't say anything, and then I find a PT note that says that the patient is bedridden and is solely dependent on other people to do their to survive. That will be a MRS of 5, right? But it was from a PT note. So in this case, PT note was what made me aware of the patient's MRS. So I'm going to choose here evidence that the patient is bedridden, a 5. I'm going to choose the date of the evidence of this MRS score. So let's say it was 10 days after hospitalization, was right at discharge, right? That this PT note was written. So our patient was hospitalized on the 12th. Let's put it here on the 22. And it was of 2022, not 2023, this hypothetical patient. we are going to choose the profession of the provider who note the notes that has the evidence of the MRS, and in this case was PT, right? So PT. And here it's the exact wording of the MRS score evidence. So you're gonna choose the exact phrase that made you decide on the MRS, right? So let's say, just a simple phrase, patient is bedridden. That's good enough. That's good enough. Or it can be a more complex case, more complex phrase if the note is, for example, a 3. Patient cannot cook by himself. Patient cannot, clean himself up, clean a table after a meal, right? This would be a 3, and then you would copy and paste that exact sentence that made you decide on the MRS, and you would put it here. But let's say here is just a simple bedridden, right? That's how you write it. That's how you write bedridden. Oh, there you go. Got it. And then the next one is how confident you are in your score. This is going to change a little bit. The score is going to be the same, right? So it's going to be from 1 to 5. 1 is least confident and 5 is certain. I just wrote some more details on what exactly they mean for you guys, and I'm going to show you guys right now what I mean exactly with that, because I have it on the email that I just sent to people from RedCap so they can adjust it. Right, so this is going to be on the RedCap pretty soon, but this is how I would like you guys to do this confidence scale for the modified ranking score. So least confident will be a 1, which is just a wild guess. It's your best guess. Somewhat confident is you are between 3 scores. So this usually happens when you're between a 5, a 4, and a 3. And so that's when you would choose somewhat confident here for a score. Moderately confident is when you're between 2 scores. Very confident is when you're fairly certain of the score, but it doesn't specifically answer a question. I'll give you an example. So for example, let's say you think the patient is a MRS of 4, and an MRS of 4 says that the patient needs assistance, that assistance is essential for walking, right? Meaning someone needs to be there all the time. And let's say the PT note says that the patient needs a lot of assistance when walking, but doesn't specifically say assistance all the time or that is essential for walking, right? So it's a little iffy. It doesn't explicitly answer the ranking focus assessment question. So that's when you're going to put it as a 4. And then a 5 is just a home run. It specifically answers a question from the ranking focus assessment. And for example, let's look at a 3 here. If you think the MRS is a 3, and it explicitly says in a note, so for example, a physician notes that the patient needs assistance while cooking, right? So it needs assistance while cooking all the time. So this is a 3 automatically. So because they need assistance preparing any kind of meal, so this will be a home run. This will be a 5 on this confidence scale, right? As of now, we don't have these descriptors here, but you're going to receive it via email, and eventually this will be here as well. And then you're going to do the 90-day focus ranking assessments. It's the same thing as the hospitalization, right? But it's just going to be at 90 days. That's the only difference, right? So let's say here the patient got better, but he still has evidence of any symptoms, so the patient is a 1. And now the date here for the 90 days is super important. What you're going to do is you're going to try to be as close to 90 days as possible, right? So 90 days, it's roughly a month after the patient was, the stroke happened, right? So it's a month after the stroke happened, not a month after discharge. It's a month after stroke happens. And you're going to begin at 90 days, and then you're going to go at 91. You're going to begin at 90 days, and then if you don't find anything, you're going to go 91. And if you don't find anything at 91, you're going to go 89. And if you don't find anything at 89, you're going to go 92. And then if you don't find anything at 92, you're going to go 88. So what I mean by that is you're going to choose 90 days, and then you're going to open like a symmetrical window into the patient's charts until you find notes that are useful for you. And that note ends at 30 days and 180 days. So it's a pretty wide margin. Of course, at the end of the day, I feel like it's going to be better if we use 60 to a shorter margin, for example, 60 to 120. But I do want you guys to cast a wide net so we have that information. And if we need to shorten it afterwards while doing the data analysis, we can do that. So for you guys, the margin is 30 to 180. And if you're not able to find any notes because the patient, moved to California, that's completely fine. So let's say here 3 months later, we found a note on the 12th of March 2023, we found a note, right? And it was a note written by a physician, and the physician says like right-sided hemiparesis. Oh, paresis, right? Oh, Jesus, I don't know how to write. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. So this will be a 1, right? And this will be the specific part of the note where you're gonna copy and paste here. So don't write it, just copy and paste, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. And once again, you have your confidence score, least confidence to certain, and you're gonna choose, let's say here it will be a certain, and then you're gonna choose here a complete if your note is complete, and just make sure everything looks good, and then you're gonna, press save and exit form. I'm not gonna do that because, the RedCap is live, so if I do this right now with a training record, it's just gonna not be good for the data, so I'm gonna cancel it. But you're gonna just choose here save and exit form.